Hi, Sherry.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Long time in the making. But timing is everything, and you're here on what happens to be Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and Down Syndrome Awareness Month, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to touch on both of those today. But you're also the first cartoonist I've ever had on my podcast. So, can you let me know how did you end up being a cartoonist?
So, I've been drawing since I was a year old, drawing people, and I went to an entrance exam for my elementary school, my yeshiva Flatbush, and I was 5 years old. The guidance counselor who interviewed me told my mom I tested off the charts with the creative and the visual side of the testing, and he hadn't seen anything like that, so he told her to get me into art lessons. So when I turned 6, I started taking art lessons every summer. And I ended up having very supportive parents. I took a pre-college program at the School of Visual Arts where I ended up going to school, majoring in cartooning, graduating valedictorian, and I've been doing that ever since.
Amazing. So, what does one do right out of college as a cartoonist? Where did you start looking for work?
Well, figure your life out when the first iPhone was invented the month after, and your whole 4 year creative career that you just spent lots of money
Wow.
on went down the tubes.
Yeah.
So I spent the first 10 years of my career trying to figure it out, really freelancing. I did a lot of different projects. I tend to attract a lot of projects that are do good projects. So my first job in college was a coloring book for kids with diabetes.
Mm.
And I have a background in humor too. I interned at Mad Magazine in college. My passion lies with humorous books for children and young adults. But I tended to, I tended to get a lot of commissions about dealing with the afterlife. I had one that really changed my life where I was commissioned to do a comic about one woman's story about her getting out of an abusive marriage with having to fight for 10 years for her get from her abusive spouse, which is the Jewish divorce document.
Yeah.
And that kind of really shaped the tone. So after years of freelancing, I had a miscarriage at 20 in 2014. And I couldn't find any material about that online. And I ended up just making, it was natural with all the other experience that I've had telling other people's stories. I ended up making it to my own comic. So it was around the time I ended up getting a full-time job working as an in-house cartoonist for Red Bull at an ad agency in LA. So I was working full-time and then working on this project on the side. And so I've pretty much been doing that, like working, jobs, creative jobs, and then doing whatever freelance projects on the side.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's revisit your miscarriage, if you will.
Yeah,
2014. Was that your first pregnancy?
that was my second pregnancy. The first one
Okay.
was super smooth.
Okay.
Got pregnant right away, no problems. Never occurred to me that anything could be an issue with round two.
Right, because you're like it went well once. It's obviously going to go well again. Um, what I mean, it must have been horrible. What did you do? How did you cope? How did you know you were going to make art from this experience?
So, in going through it in the moment, I did not realize that right away.
Yeah.
So, you know, we I started spotting. I went to my doctor and she said that it was looking normal. Sometimes people spot, it kept getting worse. She said if it turned dark red, it was a problem. And then my husband went out of town for 5 days on a business trip and he's at the airport, he's delayed, and I'm going to the doctor and I get really bad news without
Hmm.
him being there that the pregnancy was not going to be viable. So he was chaperoning a whole baseball team from a high school for a trip. So he was the only real adult. And he couldn't talk to anybody on his side for 5 days. And pretty much it started after he left and the baby came out before he came back. So I had to go and look for information on my own online,
Mm.
of which there was nothing. So when I looked at him, I said this was day 3 of going through this traumatic, of day 5 of him being away. And I thought to myself, well, there's no material. Someone should make something. I should probably do it when I'm in better mental health space.
Mhm.
And I pretty much put the idea aside until that happened in 2014. I didn't release the comic until 2017 when I had enough time to process. I had my rainbow baby. I was in a place where I could look back and say, wow, that was traumatic. Now, how can I use it to help others?
Mm. Were you anxious the pregnancy after?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
until the baby came out, and the
Yeah.
pregnancy after that too. I have three babies now, three big babies now.
Yeah.
But after that first experience, you don't assume anything. Nothing is given.
Right. Right. Okay, so where did you, so tell me about how the cartoon was born in 2017. By the way, my first miscarriage was in 2016 and I still didn't feel like there was anything at all and,
Correct.
nothing, there
Right.
was not even, I didn't even know where to go to look for something.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some material, I'm collaborating with Dr. Jessica Zucker on some projects now, and she started the movement I Had a Miscarriage. And
She's been on our pod. I have her
yep,
book right here.
yep, she's
Yep.
amazing.
Hmm.
So she came out, I think, not too long after I released my comic. But I probably started working on it late 2016.
Hmm.
And then I was figuring out how to launch it, and some friends said that had known Maya Bialik at that point. She had Maya Bialik, the actress. She had a website called Rock Nation, so we scheduled a launch in the week between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, when I had like basically the exact time I had my miscarriage.
Mm.
So she helped launch it and make it viral. And the feedback was phenomenal. I got people from all over the world reaching out to me, and some saying that they had just had a miscarriage that week, and
Mhm.
my comic came out at the right time. Some people hadn't told anybody else they had this experience, and they felt they could share with a total stranger who shared her story online. But it's a 10-page comic, and then I ended up using that as the template and telling other people's stories. The next one was Michael's miscarriage, which was about a male perspective from his miscarriage experience, and then I ended up doing the diagnosis about Down syndrome baby, and then the last comic and the most recent film that was released in my series is Determination, about an IVF abortion story. So giving
Are
people voices.
are those all of your stories, or those are a mix of other stories?
No, the
Oh,
only
got
one
it. I'm like, how many
miscarriage.
can you fit into your own experience,
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes. So
Hmm.
I told my story, and then with Maya, we launched it on a Tuesday, and then I got so much information and speaking opportunity. It was really a whirlwind of a week. And then Friday, I was talking to my husband Ellie Schiff. He's a voiceover actor. He edits all my scripts. He casts and helps produce my animated shorts. And I told him, as little as women talk about this, boy, like men don't talk about this at all.
Totally.
I should really tell a male perspective, a husband's perspective on this. And then an hour later, I get an email from a fan saying, you should really consider telling a husband's perspective on miscarriage.
Mhm.
And that's how Michael's miscarriage came about. Her husband, Michael, told his
Yeah.
story. So,
Mm.
and then I realized, wait, there's other stories besides miscarriages. So I started to explore different, it starts with the people I'm familiar with. So those who are sharing on their news feeds and are open, and people I can reach out to, who are clearly trying to get their story across. So I work with them to help it on a different platform and help give catharsis for them, and empathy to everyone else.
Mm. And so, how did the Down syndrome story come to you?
So Donnie Weiss Bronstein is a friend of ours. My husband knows her from college, and she was pregnant around the same time, was pregnant with my rainbow baby, and was sharing her journey of, not such a great prognosis during her testing in utero. And she basically was pretty open with her story. And so upon conclusion, I said, "Hey, would you want to share this to help others?" And she said, "Sure." So in 3 different years, I was working full time and doing this on the side. So I had my story, Michael's miscarriage, the diagnosis, and then I was working on the fourth story, also Abby Sophia's story, a determination about her being pregnant with her dream pregnancy of twin girls, because she was a twin, and after a lot of IVF attempts, one successful son, but she was pregnant with twin girls, which was her dream, and then having to make the terrible decision of realizing one of them is not viable. So do I terminate that to save the other? What do I do? So she was also very open. We had my third baby, her second baby, 3 days apart. Uh, and um, and so I was there pregnant while going through her journey with her as she was sharing her story. And so once we had some time to recover, I reached out to her about telling her story. And then a pandemic happened. So we put the project on hold for a little bit and now it's
S-
back.
So which one is her story? What's the title of hers?
Hers is determination.
Determination. So that's the one about having to terminate a twin pregnancy.
Correct.
And then yours is your original one. I want to make sure I get them all straight. Your original
Okay.
one is
Miscarried.
Miscarried. And you have one, I believe, premiering this month.
Yes. Determination premiered at Soho International Film Festival, and I'll be
Awesome.
launching it online by the end of the month. Just trying to figure out the exact launch details, but it'll be on by the end of the month in honor of, as you mentioned, Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
Oh my goodness. And what other subjects would you like to conquer?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, stillbirth, secondary infertility, fertility, general infertility, um, you know, uh, sudden infant death syndrome. There's unfortunately so many topics to cover, and also not just in reproductive health. There's mental health issues, there's cancer, there's untimely loss of a loved one. There's a lot, and I basically hope to do like Chicken Soup for the Soul, where I have collections and different anthologies and different videos related to specific topics.
I love that. I feel like you need to find a major sponsor to like fund all of that for you.
Correct.
We're putting it out there. We're putting it out there.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. Do you know, you said you're about to collaborate with Dr. Jessica Zucker. What are you two working on, or can you say?
We're needling some topics, but we're basically trying to combine forces to help bring awareness to women, specifically women's health issues, and trying to make, she just released a book called Normalized November. So we're trying to make it
I'm like, if I
normalized
could pull it
November.
from my left arm, I would, but I can't reach it. I had a miscarriage over here and normalize it over here.
Yeah, so we're just trying to combine forces and try to tell different stories. It's still in early development, but we're trying to use our combined forces and skills to make everything more normalized instead of just keeping it in October
Hmm.
or because pregnancy loss, Down syndrome, all these topics happen not just in October.
Right.
So we want to be able to make it even more normalized than it's become since we all had our issues in the early 2010s.
Hmm. How has this life experience shaped your advocacy work?
It's so rewarding to be able to help people. There's a lot of going on in the world right now, but I find that when you get to do good and use things that are troubling or traumatizing and turn them into something useful, that's such an important asset to have. So important.
Mm,
So it's been really great being able to actually see how you've helped people, one on one. I know how you put out this project, you don't know who people are going to see it, but then the responses are terrific.
yes. How do you approach somebody about, I guess you go only through people you know so far, but how do you approach people about wanting to work on their topics?
So, of the ones I've done so far, I just reach out and I say, hi, that's an incredibly strong message that you have. And I see that you're open to sharing. Would you consider telling it as a comic because it'll help engage in people and in a different way? It's not just about having it be a documentary that could be filmed where you record someone's story. When I do a comic, I try to create a universal iconic image. So,
Hmm.
and from a first person perspective, where the person reading it feels like they are in the story in the shoes of the person who's telling their story. You can really see it through their eyes and their experiences. And I try to have a very very endearing, friendly style so that it's engaging for people. So really, it's just about putting themselves in their position. And even if they haven't had, if they are lucky enough to have not had gone through such a similar experience, they can at least understand what their friends and family who have gone through that have been through.
Yeah, I think we were just dissecting the term walking a mile in someone's shoes this week with my kids because they were like, we don't get it. What do you mean you're walking in someone else's shoes? But I think that is so much the stigma comes when people can't empathize or understand with, what the person is going through. So I think that's the best way to approach it,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. Absolutely.
Well, I love this. Where else do you want to have, like, what do you envision for your films? Where do you want them to play?
I mean, the long-term goal is to have a series on a streaming service. I would love for even celebrities, there's so many celebrity spokeswomen and
Hmm.
spokesmen who've been through their own issues, who it would be great to see their stories shared in this format. So I have big aspirations.
I love
Really
that.
just to reach, try to make it more normal and reach out to as big of an audience as possible.
I love it. So, can we link out once you have diagnosis out and about? Let us know so we can link out to it because this is still going to air during Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
Yeah, so the diagnosis was supposed to be launched this month. The determination is going to
I'm
be,
sorry, the
I
determination.
know there's so
I'm
many, there's
sorry.
a
That's
couple
why I
of
was
new
trying to
ones.
keep it straight. I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. Thank goodness there's stories that are reaching people. So the diagnosis was originally supposed to be launched in October. We're pushing it off to March, which is this is this is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, but Down Syndrome Awareness Day is in March.
Day.
So we're
Yes.
pushing that one off. Maya Bialik is actually voicing the main character in that one. So that's
Amazing.
very exciting. And Determination, it will be out by the end of the month. So I'll for sure shoot over the links so that you have it
Okay.
when it's out.
Awesome. And where's the best place for people to find you?
It's charipere.com, and there's a separate link for unspoken cartoonmentaries there. So you can find it all there.
Thank you. Thanks for the work
And
that
on
you're
YouTube.
doing. And on
Subscribe to the
YouTube.
YouTube page.
Yay. We'll link to it. Thank you for doing the work you're doing.
Oh, I'm so happy. I hate to say the word happy. I feel very fulfilled and like humbled to be doing this kind of work, but I'm really thankful that I can use this skill set to help other people in this way. So I'm trying to really lean into that as much as I can.
I love it for you.